T-Rex uncovered. The feathered truth behind history's greatest predator. Screen splits. Left side shows classic scaly T-Rex. Right side morphs into fluffy baby T-Rex with big anime eyes. Narrator, new fossils, prove the king of dinosaurs looked more like a murder chicken than Hollywood-esque monster. So today, we're retesting if you could outrun a fluffy T-Rex, exposing the real reason museums hide feather evidence, proving Native American legends predicted T-Rex feathers. This is unjust science. It's a cover-up 65 million years in the making. Don't believe me? Just wait till you see the smoking gun fossil at 7:30. Now that you've been properly introduced to the dino myth, let's dive into the actual science. Say hello to our lab. Today we're recreating a crime scene. The question is, do we have a murder chicken or a fire-breathing lizard? To answer that, we traveled to one of the world's richest dinosaur fossil sites, Montana's Hell Creek Formation. Now we're putting the pieces together. Can you spot the weird thing about this dino skin? It looks kind of normal, except for these strange quill knobs. These tiny holes are the key to solving the whole case. When an artist draws a T-Rex, they might think these bumps look cool, but they'd be wrong. They're actually the remnants of feathers, proof that birds are dinosaurs, and that the king of the food chain used to look more like a giant chicken than a lizard. Not so scary, right? But we know that most people still prefer the scaly version. So to prove how the king of the dinosaurs got its fluff, we'll use forensic technology to analyze real fossils. The proof will be in this box. Are they hollow or solid? If they're hollow, they're probably feathers. Now I'm gonna unlock the box, reveal the fossils, and turn on the microscope. What do we have here? These are definitely hollow. So, it's official. T-Rex had feathers, but there's even more evidence hiding in plain sight. This discovery was made by some of the top paleontologists in the world, but they need your help to finish the job. What do you see? Give us your best guess down in the comments. Okay, now it's time for the reveal. This piece of preserved skin has something totally unique. Can you name that body part? Drumroll please. It's a dinosaur scale, which is already pretty exciting, because it means we can finally learn how their skin looked and felt. But look closer. There's something really strange going on. Take a deep breath. Let's count the scales in a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And let's count the scales in this row. Wait, there aren't any. What happened? Where did all the scales go? Maybe they fell off. But no. Look closely. All these little triangles are perfectly preserved, except they're not triangles. They're hexagons. Hold up. Why does that matter? Because no other animal makes hex scale patterns. That's why this patch of missing scales is actually where feathers grew, so we know they were alive when the skin was shed. This is the first direct evidence of feathers growing in dinosaurs, and you can tell it was important because other animals never evolved this trait. Birds are the only ones who still have it. So with this new discovery, we can finally ask, what was life like for a feathery It turns out quite chilly. Okay, time for a live experiment. When scientists study dinosaurs, they rely on living animals for clues. We'll start with these volunteers who are about to step into a wind tunnel. We've remove their feathers so we can see what happens when air moves across their bodies at 18 miles per hour, the average speed of a Tyrannosaurus rex. But don't worry, we'll bring them back to life later. First, watch closely. As the wind blows, these birds take flight. Their feathers generate a huge amount of lift, allowing them to soar through the sky. But what about dinosaurs? Well, let's find out. Here's the result of our wind tunnel test. Whoa! Listen to those sounds. What do you hear? These feathers make a ton of noise, which means T-Rexes were probably quite noisy too. And you know what else they had in common with birds? They were both warm-blooded. After seeing this evidence, we're officially changing the textbook version of T-Rex. Forget lizards. This dino was more like a chicken, except for one small detail. Chickens can't run at 18 miles per hour. So here's the question. Could you outrun a feathery Unfortunately, the answer is no. Not only were they fast, they could also leap over fences, meaning they would win every single time. So remember that next time you run for your life in a horror movie, choose your weapon wisely. Speaking of weapons, you won't believe what we found in Chapter 2. In order to make this video, we poured over hundreds of pages of secret documents, including this leaked Universal memo showing the studio's latest discovery. It turns out the classic scaly design may be 15% less scary, but it's still a hit with kids 6 to 12. That's why we decided to cover up the truth about dinosaurs. Wait, hold on. It seems like someone forgot to put a decimal point in the right place. What exactly is happening here? It turns out the document was tampered with, so we went straight to the source to expose the truth. As you'll see, Hollywood really doesn't want you to know about feathers. We sat down with the animators who brought Jurassic Park to life in 1992. Can you guess what they had to say? Pause the video here if you want to make a prediction. And whoa. This witness told us exclusively that scientists knew about feathers back then. But what did they do with that information? According to a star witness, the director didn't want to make a silly movie. He wanted to make a scary movie, so he told the crew to leave the feathers out. But wait, there's more. When we asked him to respond to our findings, he said this. Not very nice, but fans quickly came to his defense. That's why we created this social media challenge. Thousands of you tweeted #RealTrex, while Chris Pratt posted this message. But don't believe everything you see online. So we brought in the experts to settle this debate once and for all. And the results surprised us. What do you see? Take a close look at the skeleton. It looks a lot like a T-Rex, but something's different. Can you spot the unusual feature? This dinosaur had feathers, just like a bird. In fact, this specimen is the closest relative we have to modern birds, so we can safely assume they both looked alike. But wait, there's more. This fossil was discovered in China 1,000 years before the first Jurassic Park movie. So how could a medieval artifact prove that T-Rex had feathers? Simple. Check out this book. It's called The Illustrated Book of the Divine Secrets of the 12th Century Heavenly Dragons Manual. It may look like a fantasy novel, but it's actually an ancient guide to painting dinosaurs. For centuries, historians assumed this was a myth, but recently we discovered a shocking connection. Most experts agree that this 12th century Tibetan manuscript was based on accounts from Chinese explorers who uncovered real dinosaur bones. And now we can see that these feathered theropods were fighting knights, proof that humans knew about dinosaurs thousands of years ago. But there's even more evidence that reveals how the feathered dinosaurs got their revenge. To uncover the truth, we tracked down a leading expert on Native American history. Can you name that tribe? It's the Lakota people, and she told us about her encounter with a legendary storyteller. When she learned about feathered dinosaurs, she remembered an ancient prophecy. It describes a great feathered killer with bone-crushing teeth, a terrifying beast that lived in the sky. But this isn't a modern story. The Lakota people have been passing it down for generations. So it seems like the great thunderbird may have been inspired by a real creature. And it wasn't just native cultures who witnessed the return of the dinosaurs. Okay, now it's time for the big reveal. Do we have evidence of a feathered T-Rex? Here's what we found in this forbidden museum exhibit. These mysterious rocks may not look like much, but they're actually footprints from 100 million years ago. These tracks were left by an unknown animal that weighed 1,000 pounds and walked on 2 legs. But look closely. Something about these footprints is totally different. There's a trail of small prints right next to the big ones. What do you think this could mean? Did a baby dinosaur follow its parents? Well, let's investigate further. These footprints come from the same day because they were weathered by the same rain, but they weren't made by the same animal. These prints are way too small. The only explanation is that this was a child. So now we have 2 questions. How do baby dinos fit into our theory? And could we possibly discover a brand new species? Well, the answers are in this controversial 2023 paper. This study shocked the scientific community by suggesting that adult dinosaurs molted their feathers in groups. But feathers aren't just for warmth or flying. Some scientists think they also played a role in mating. So if T-Rexes were colorful, maybe they could distract potential predators. But that would also make them easier targets. So instead, maybe they used their feathers for camouflage. And if that's true, we should be able to find baby T-Rexes near water. After all, they would have needed to stay moist while their skin was growing. But there's one last thing we have to consider. Before we had a chance to solve the case, a series of unfortunate events led to our equipment being destroyed. Our feathers turned to dust, and our models were crushed. Now we have to start over from scratch. Fortunately, we're not alone. The competition is here. 2 teams of scientists are about to face off in a feather attachment deathmatch. Will they build a scaly dino or a feathery dino? Well, one team is relying on this ultra-realistic model of a triceratops. It took them 2 months to craft, and they're hoping that everyone will forget about feathers if the scales look good. But what does the second team have up their sleeves? Whoa, look at this prototype. These researchers built a fully robotic T-Rex skin. The only problem is, it doesn't work yet. So it's time to vote. Do you think Team Scale or Team Feather will win? Either way, one of these teams is going to be eliminated. And you can choose the fate of these robots. Just select your favorite team down in the comments. Then you'll unlock a secret game. The winner of the poll will be announced tomorrow. And this is just the beginning. Here's what will happen if you help us reach 100,000 likes in 24 hours. We'll send the creator to the Hell Creek Formation in Montana to search for more evidence of feathers. Plus, we'll 3D print the winning TRX design life-size. But the best part is we'll make Chris Pratt react to the Fluffgate scandal of 2024. That why it's so important. You like this episode? But if you're still on the fence, here's your final clue. Feathers are real. Feathers are amazing. Feathers make dinosaurs look more like birds than lizards. And birds are dinosaurs. So which T-Rex version wins? Full feathers? Just mohawk? Classic scales? Time to vote. Also, we made it super easy for teachers to use this video in class. Every episode comes with a free lesson plan aligned to NGSS standards. The link is in the description. Plus, the first 1,000 commenters will get custom dinosaur avatars. Don't miss out. Also, special thanks to our amazing supporters. Without your support, none of this would be possible. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.